Boston College Eagles, their third national championship, the first since 2001.
Shattenkirk shifting, dishes it for Cohen. Cohen a slamper.
Goal! Goal! Colby Cohen and the Terriers. In overtime, have defeated the Miami Redhawks.
We were rooting very hard for BU, and I would assume Jack was the same way the year before with us, and now I hope that the Green Knight just sends a trophy back to us this year.
I certainly wasn't rooting for BC to win the national championship 2 years ago, and I'm sure they weren't rooting for us to win the national championship this year.
This, though, does ratchet up just one notch, and I think there's a good chance that one of us could keep it again next year. So we'll have to wait and see. A lot of other good schools, a lot of sharks out there trying to sabotage us.
I don't think it was so much satisfying that they won it, now we won it. I think it's pretty cool that it's still in Boston. I think it's pretty cool that it still belongs to Hockey East.
Just say it's a bunch of dirty old New England kids going at it hard every night, and it's going to be a great game. Every game you go to between BU and BC, it's going to be action-packed, and it's going to be guys trying to take guys' heads off.
Well, this is a very parochial town. As a matter of fact, we used to joke that there'd be a Boston Globe headline, Hub Man dies in New York nuclear holocaust. So there's really no world outside of this world for these people. And of course, BC and BU are both literally on the same avenue, on Commonwealth Avenue. You can take a trolley from one to the other. And if you look back to when these schools were really tribal, they were commuter schools, really, through most of this rivalry. Most of the kids lived at home and took the trolley, and you'd literally have to go by one school to get to the other. Many times you would be going to high school with a kid who'd then go to BC or BU, and you'd end up rivals. So what made the rivalry so special was you knew everybody.
It's almost like roommates being rivals. It's like brothers being rivals.
It just brings out the boilerplate passion in everybody, fans, players, coaches, rink attendants, Zamboni drivers, the police on detail, everybody.
It's the rivalry. It's the intenseness of two programs not far from each other, two programs that recruit against each other, two programs that have kids that either didn't get recruited by the other school or decided not to go to that school and went to the other.
I think it's a blood rivalry in the best and worst sense of the word.
There's certain games that you just kind of highlight, all summer you're thinking about.
It's a rivalry against two schools that have kids who grew up in the Boston neighborhoods and played against each other, played with each other. And there aren't many programs that have that kind of a rivalry that bring in the community as well as the recruiting aspect of things. So when you stepped on the ice against BC, it was a totally different mindset.
I think it was just as intense when I was a sophomore in college in 1966 as it is right now.
One of the words that I use very rarely is hate. I do think this athletic hate.
We're approaching 100 years of this holy war between the two, and it doesn't seem to ever get old, and it never seems to diminish in terms of its passion, its excitement, and what's at stake. Oftentimes, there's a great deal at stake.
The proximity, the fact that both schools recruit the same players, the fact that these players are going to be around Boston the rest of their lives and see each other quite a bit, I think all those things add up to you better win.
There's a lot of familiarity breeding a lot of contempt that used to be you'd play maybe 3 times a year. Now they can play as many as 6 times a year. So if you're a player, you may play the other team 24 times, if everything. That's a lot.
You need a rival. You know, and some teams don't have rivals. For example, our football team now, we switched to the ACC conference, and we're still trying to establish, you know, is it Maryland, is it Florida State? We're not quite sure who our rival is. But hockey, we're so fortunate to have, you know, one institution that's Army, Navy-ish, Michigan State. I mean, this is our rival, and it just seems to bring out the best in both of us.
We talked to the BU players this year, and one of the things that spurred them on were their morning 5 a.m. runs along the Charles River, and it was still with that intensity, that onus of having watched their arch rival win the national title 5 or 6 months earlier.
As much of a rivalry as there is, they've been so tied in together for so many years. They both won national championships. They've won a ton of Beanpots, mostly on the BU side. But I think what you get is what you get in the Harvard-Yale rivalry, where there's an institutional respect because it goes back for so long. And it's at a time when it's more difficult to keep those rivalries together. What makes this thing endure is longevity and the frequency of it.
The Battle of Comm Ave will return after these messages.
Now available on DVD. Relive the historical hockey rivalry between Boston College and Boston University. This DVD features the director's cut, which is 32 minutes longer than the broadcast, with exciting action and storytelling. Bonus features include never-before-told stories and video that hasn't been seen in decades. The Battle of Comm Ave, Boston University versus Boston College, is available at Pure Hockey, RivalFilms.com, and these fine retailers. It's the perfect holiday stocking stuffer.
Attention users of the antidepressant Paxil. Did you take Paxil during your pregnancy?
If you used the antidepressant Paxil while you were pregnant and your baby was born with a heart defect, lung problems, or other serious injury, Paxil may be to blame. Call the Goldwater Law Firm right now.
I'm attorney Bob Goldwater. If this has happened to you or a loved one, call us right now.
The FDA recently strengthened its warning on Paxil, stating that taking Paxil while pregnant increases the risk that your baby will be born with a heart defect or lung problems.
Call us right now. You may be entitled to financial compensation.
If you used Paxil while you were pregnant, call the Goldwater Law Firm now to find out the truth.
You deserve to know the truth about what happened. If you used Paxil and your child was born with a heart defect, lung problems, or other serious injury, call the Goldwater Law Firm right now.
Call the Goldwater Law Firm right now. Call 800-554-4242. That's 800-554-4242. 800-554-4242.
How to have fewer hangovers. Method 1, don't drink. Hangover avoided. Method 2, take chaser while you drink and wake up feeling great. Breakfast in bed not included. Let's review. Method 1, don't drink. Method 2, take chaser while you drink. Wake up feeling great and cute as a button. Individual cuteness may vary. If you get hangovers, try chaser. Just take 2 pills with your first drink and 2 more later. The choice is yours. Don't drink or don't drink without chaser. Please drink responsibly.
On the tree-lined neighborhood streets of Massachusetts, in towns with names like Melrose and Arlington, Worcester and Springfield, Gloucester and Stoneham, dreams are made and championships are won. With a keen set of skills and a wandering imagination, the next Chris Drury or Brian Giunta is wristing a shot under the crossbar and hoisting the trophy for all to see. In the town of Belmont, a stretch pass away from Boston, the game of street hockey has been a staple on Long Avenue for decades. The Kelleher family, captained by Dan and Maura, raised 5 hockey-playing boys: Pat, Brendan, Chris, Ryan, and Tim.
Well, 5 boys in the house, we all had our fair share of friends that would come over all the time, and we'd play in the summers. We'd play as soon as everybody got here until we couldn't, play anymore, and the sun was down, and people had to go home for dinner. So, I think Anybody who grew up in Belmont knew that, you know, you could find a street hockey game here at 18 Long Ave pretty much any day as long as it wasn't raining.
Well, as the youngest, I obviously wanted to join them. I'd watch them every day from, in this living room here, out there on the street playing. So it was always something, I'm in the, the glass door in the window, always wanting to get out there. But my mom wouldn't let me, as being the youngest of 5. She knew exactly where I was going if I stepped out there, and that was in the net.
Our brothers always had their friends over here playing street hockey, and if they didn't have enough kids, I'd get dragged into it. And it just kept going with, myself and my friends, and then we'd have Timmy and my other brother, Ryan. So there were always games out in front of our house.
I guess the story goes, my mother had gone to the grocery store, and that takes about 2-3 hours with 5 boys, and then my father making six men in the house. You wouldn't know it by my size, but, they ate a lot. And so that took a good 2-3 hours. And I'm not quite sure who was out in the net, but somebody got hurt. I was the only guy left, so I went out and played, and ever since then I was a goalie.
They put him in the nets right out in the driveway, and he was the only one that just would kind of stand there, and they'd put the pads on him, and they would shoot on him. All their friends would.
I really didn't have a choice, I guess, in the matter. But it was fun. I mean, I really enjoyed doing that. There's nothing better than stopping your oldest brother, 10 years older than you, and you can just kind of rub it in his face a bit. So I always thrived on that.
Years later, 18 Long Ave would be home to 5 college hockey players. 2 of them would take sides in the Battle of Comm Ave, but not necessarily the way they envisioned it.
It was funny growing up because Timmy then all of a sudden had an allegiance to BU, and he thought that was definitely where he was going to go when he got older. And Chris counseled at a BC camp one time in the summer, and he and his buddy, they made a pact that the 2 of them would go on to play at BC.
As it turns out, Chris made his season ticket-holding parents proud when Boston University offered him a scholarship. As a freshman in 1995, a stroke of good luck found the puck-moving defenseman. The Terriers, stacked with future NHL stars like Chris Drury, Mike Greer, and Jay Pandolfo, won the national championship. A household always leaning toward BU was glowing. Life was good.
We didn't really start off with allegiance, when Chris went to BU, it was an easy deal because they won everything they played. He was there at a great time.
We were looking for a goaltender that year, and Timmy was one of our top recruits, and of course we knew the family background with BU, and we thought, geez, I don't know if we'll ever get a younger brother could go against his older brother.
A routine recruiting visit turned into a memorable evening thanks to some good-natured hijinks.
My brother Chris was here with Chris Drury, his old roommate at BU. So they were at the house, and I think my mother might have let it slip that Coach York was coming soon there after dinner. So those 2 just, dropped their forks right away. They're running around the house.
And we put out any BU thing we could find in the house. We put it out.
Shirts, T-shirts, pucks.
We tried to hide, like subtle places behind lamps, or, anything we could find, we'd put it out.
Everything BU, media guys from their freshman year. I mean, it was unbelievable.
When I went to visit, they played a practical joke on the coach, and I had walked in, there's all BU red and white banners all over the place. Chris's game uniform, Chris's pictures, and talk about walking into a hornet's nest.
My mother's following around, apron on, she's still running around, table's still a mess, she just doesn't care. Anything red and white was getting thrown under a couch, under a pillow, out the window if she had to.
Anything they could find that was in the house that had BU on it, and a sign on the front door for Coach York when he came.
It was something like welcome to an enemy territory, or that gist of it. It was, I was well prepared, but I certainly expected all the BU paraphernalia around there.
York's invasion of enemy territory paid off. Without hesitation or reservation, Tim accepted BC's scholarship offer. The youngest Kelleher, who got his start in goal years ago in a game of street hockey, would wear the maroon and gold of Boston College. His family, the same family who loved BU, who had season tickets to the Terriers and a national title ring in the house, would have to cheer for the team at the other end of Comm Ave. Only Chris seemed to find this difficult.
If I went to BC and then Timmy went to BU, I think the family would have been, a BC fan. So everybody kind of got into the BU thing for 4 years, and then it's like, wow, we got to root for BC. Not me, but But, you know, my family, when Timmy was playing, and obviously I was gone, they would root for BC. And I think if you ask anybody, if they tell you that they still root for BC over BU, that they're lying. I think so, but.
I think they're both terrific programs, terrific schools, and I was never a hater of BC.
When he played against BU, you know, it was like, well, maybe they'll tie, that'd be great, you know? Because he's my brother, and, you know, obviously I want him to do well. If it's a 1-0 game BU wins, then, hey, he played well.
In the end, the family's awkward journey from one end of Commonwealth Avenue to the other was rewarded. In 2001, Tim and the Eagles won the national championship. The Kelleher's were celebrating again. The score was even. Or was it?
Both our careers there were pretty, with our teams, our records and stuff were really good, so, you know, there's really not a whole lot. He's got a national championship, I have a national championship, you know, but I have 4 Beanpots, and I know he doesn't have that many.
One of the best things that ever happened was that when Timmy won a national championship at BC, everything was fine. Everything was, in my book, was all equal. There's no bragging rights left. You both have won a national championship with your school, which was absolutely awesome.
The Battle of Comm Ave will return after these messages.
Now available on DVD. Relive the historical hockey rivalry between Boston College and Boston University. This DVD features the director's cut, which is 32 minutes longer than the broadcast, with exciting action and storytelling. Bonus features include never-before-told stories and video that hasn't been seen in decades. The Battle of Comm Ave, Boston University versus Boston College, is available at Pure Hockey, RivalFilms.com, and these fine retailers. It's the perfect holiday stocking stuffer.
Hey, your map's blocking the game.
Oh, sorry, I'm just checking the other scores.
Is my map in the way? No, you good.
To get 5 times more 3G coverage than AT&T, come to Verizon Wireless, where you'll find smartphones under $100, like the BlackBerry Tour, Droid Aris with Google by HTC, or the new BlackBerry Curve for just $79.99. Verizon Wireless.
Discover a place that some of the world's premier chefs love to call home.
I love being on HSN.
There's Wolfgang Puck.
I work with the best people in the world.
Hello,
everybody. Let's spice it up. I'm gonna share all my cooking secrets with you. HSN is like the perfect dish. It has all the right ingredients. Delicious. And that's why there is no place like HSN.
TV stations have started running public service announcements that tell people where to find food banks, even as the food banks don't have enough to meet the demand. Similar scenes are playing out in cities and towns across America.
So, do you have any questions?
What is your soup of the day? Oh, how's that cooked? Is it grilled? Can I have it steamed? So, what do you recommend?
Any questions?
For the 10 questions everyone should know, go to ahrq.gov.
Is certainly part of New England's fabric. Terrific conferences like Hockey East and the ECAC have more member schools known for their hockey programs than anything else. In early February, spice is added to a dish called the Beanpot. It features Boston College and Boston University, plus Northeastern and Harvard. All 4 schools are within a few square miles of one another. Each excels on the ice, which is precisely why this tournament is special. Although BU seems to win more Beanpots than anyone, a mid-season classic like this is must-see theater for anyone with a heartbeat in Boston.
It's interesting when you troll the websites for college hockey and you see the amount of, I don't know, what would I call it, sort of the criticism of the Beanpot or the vitriol thrown at it, what's the Beanpot, what is this? Well, you know what? They're just jealous.
But it brings the city together from the 4 schools. And the 4 schools being so close to each other creates a great rivalry.
Closing in front, tip, score! Nick Gillis wins the Beanpot for the Terriers.
right when it seems as though we've had too much snow, too much slush, too much ice, you know, where the burdens of the cold sort of bear down on us, there's this wonderful 8 days of 2 Mondays where anything's possible, and it is a college hockey dream.
The whole thing about the Beanpot, it was great to win it, but you really didn't want to lose it because you'd hear about it for a whole year. And I think that was the one thing that actually has held BU back a bit, because they would win the Beanpot, and Jack Parker would say, you go back to campus, and the fans would say, great year, how are you guys going to be next year? And Jack said, we're still playing. We've still got another 6 weeks to play. But I think for the fans, that was the one game. I mean, I know there were some BC fans used to deride the BU fans, calling them groundhogs, but they only came out in February.
I belong to a local country club, and there's some BU people there, and they're forever, you know, letting them know about the Beanpot, but we've been able to do, you know, enough chirping ourselves the last 10 or 11 years, so it doesn't go away. It doesn't go away when the season is over, you know, and especially when BU has a little, you know, success, they come out of the woodwork.
But one thing just about the parochial nature of this, in 1980, Northeastern won the Beanpot for the first time. And I was up at Lake Placid, it was during the Olympics, and I'm waiting to see the team come out and practice.
It was fun in the locker room because the Minnesota guys and the Wisconsin guys, as the Beanpot approached, the Boston guys would be talking about it. Now, we were fortunate there were no BC kids on the 80 Olympic team. I have to bring that point up. 4 Boston kids. And then the Minnesota guys would be going, what's this teapot tournament? What's going on with it? What are you guys concerned about this teapot?
The first thing Michael Ruzioni, the captain, wants to know is, who won the Beanpot? And I said, Northeastern. He said, Northeastern? And he turned to Jack O'Callaghan coming out of the tunnel. He said, OC, did you hear this? Northeastern won the Beanpot. He said, what happened when we were there? So here they're about to play for a gold medal on the global stage, and it like ruined, you know, Mike's year that Northeastern won the Beanpot. He couldn't do a damn thing about it.
So maybe there were 2 miracles that year, Northeastern winning and us winning.
The Battle of Comm Ave will return after these messages.
Now available on DVD. Relive the historical hockey rivalry between Boston College and Boston University. This DVD features the director's cut, which is 32 minutes longer than the broadcast, with exciting action and storytelling. Bonus features include never-before-told stories and video that hasn't been seen in decades. The Battle of Comm Ave, Boston University versus Boston College, is available at Pure Hockey, RivalFilms.com, and these fine retailers. It's the perfect holiday stocking stuffer.
If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS or state, this may be the most important phone call you'll ever make.
I owed $50,000 in taxes. But listen.
Your tax problem is settled. You only owe $8,400.
What a great message.
I owed $13,000 on my taxes. But now?
Congratulations. You only owe $3,048.
How's that sound?
If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS or state, then you owe it to yourself to call this number or go to tax10000.com. Even if you're already at the point where you're struggling with levies and garnishments, let our experts help guide you through the process of negotiating a tax settlement.
We owe the IRS $28,000. But check out what we actually paid.
Are you sitting down? You only owe $5,772.
Call toll-free 888-914-0868 or go to tax10000.com. 888-914-0868.
Senior homeowners have been feeling anxious about money lately. The good news is that you can do something about it now.
500,000 seniors can't be wrong.
It's true. A government-backed reverse mortgage stops the concern about money.
My program covered missing Social Security payments and kept me safely in our house.
Receive our new information kit when you qualify. After all your hard work, you're entitled to a comfortable retirement and never having a mortgage payment again.
We've had recruiting battles, we've had, incidents on ice, both sides, tough losses, unbelievable wins by each team, and we've still been able to, look each other in the eye and talk hockey and talk other things besides hockey also.
That's just how it is with coaches whose hockey roots are as intertwined as their schools. BC coach Jerry York and BU coach Jack Parker scrummed against each other as high school players, college players, and now as coaches of national powerhouses whose colors began coursing through their veins in the 1960s. York played for the Eagles, while Parker won 3 Beanpot championships with the Terriers. Both claim an astonishing 800 wins, and both attribute their program's culture of success in part to those who coached before them.
I think that there's really almost like a passing of the torch, not only with players, but behind the bench. If you look at BU, they've had 3 great coaches in the last 40 years. They've had Harry Cleverly, and then you've had Jack Kelly. Now you have Jack Parker. Similarly, you look at BC with Snooks Kelly, Lenny Siglaski, and Jerry York. So it's that keeping pace.
But Snooks Kelly was the first American coach to win 500 or more hockey games, collegiate coach, which is an incredible achievement. And he did this with the coaching job as his second job. He worked in the Cambridge schools.
He was the face of Boston College, especially of the Irish Boston College. I mean, everyone knew he'd wear this camel's hair coat behind the bench, and you always would see him. And he had the accent, clearly. So, when you saw Snooks, you saw Boston College. And he was the guy, he'd be great at the luncheons. He'd get up and he would talk about the Beanpot as being a social and athletic must.
We got a tough assignment on Monday night with the Northeast, and we've had trouble with them all through the years. Records they don't mean anything, and what kind of material they got is for the birds. This is a Beanpot tournament, the greatest tournament in the country. 15,000 mad fans screaming wild, and we're going to be over there because we have an ulterior motive in that we have to get to BU or get to Harvard through Northeast, and so we're going to have to beat Northeastern to get at one of those big boys that we really want.
He's a Boston politician. He could talk like no coach I've ever seen. He was Newt Rockne in hockey, and he could find a way to motivate players.
If someone were to be a player in the Snooks Kelly era, and then someone would be a player in the Lenny Siglaski era, if you could take those players and put them in our locker room, you'd certainly see a lot of both Lenny and Snooks.
While Snooks Kelly was working his way into college hockey coaching lore, Jack Kelly arrived at Boston University in 1962. The Terriers were a step behind the Eagles, but the fiery, bespectacled man in the fedora had a plan that would alter the course of this rivalry. He was going north, looking for a few good men.
He was a fabulous college hockey coach, for sure. He was one of the premier college hockey coaches in the nation during that era, and he kind of put BU hockey on the map.
Obviously, a great knowledge of the rivalry, a great pride being a former star in his own right at Boston University. He played on some great teams in the early 50s at BU. And he knew that he was going to have to look elsewhere for his hockey talent. And look elsewhere he did, along with Bob Crocker as his assistant coach and head recruiter. And they were able to establish some tremendous ties to the Toronto area and to Ontario and to the Quebec area and to Western Canada.
But he was a real taskmaster, and it was a grind playing for him, and I always tell my guy, you don't know how hard it could be, and I mean that sincerely. And he wasn't a real touchy-feely type of guy either. He was always much better friends with his players after they graduated. He wanted a little bit of a standoffish while he was coaching.
Intense from day one, early October, till the final game. And I think what he realized what he had some good players coming in. He had a nucleus that was remaining from the prior coach, and he had to bring them together. He was a strict disciplinarian. It was his way, or as they say, the highway, and some guys went the highway.
My favorite Jack Kelly story is that we were playing in the national championship, and we were winning 2-1 going in the third period, I think, and an argument boiled over in our dressing room between a couple of players, and it was going to come to blows, you know. And a third guy got up and said, "Come on, we got to win a national championship. We got a game to win here." And the guy that was started the argument said, "Hey, you shut up, because after him, you're next." And just after he said that, Jack Kelly come walking in our dressing room, and I'll never forget, he's rubbing his hands together. He says, "Boys, I think we got them on the run. I just went by their dressing room, and they're arguing among themselves." We just sat down and said, "Whoa."
He was difficult, Jack Kelly, every single practice, every single game. He never let up, but it paid off.
While the culture that each Coach Kelly brought to his respective team endures, there is no question whose brand infuses today's programs. Parker, the iron-fisted ruler; York, the diplomat.
Jack Parker is a city kid, talks fast, you know, kind of that what we call smart-ass Boston.
I'd like to say congratulations to the Hockey East Commissioner as well, Joe Britannia. I know he was rooting for us tonight.
He is really acerbic after games, especially if his team won but didn't play well. Jerry is very diplomatic, never breaks a sweat. I mean, if you look at behind the dasher on a big game, Jackie will be yelling, just like this all the time, and Jerry's there. He has usually a sweater under the blazer. He looks like he's going to go to a communion breakfast.
He was definitely a different guy when he was recruiting me than he was when he was a coach. I remember the first meeting we had my freshman year, we walked in and I thought, you know, here's this guy that really likes me. He's this guy that I get along with, you know, Coach Parker. I mean, I had a ton of respect for him, and it wasn't like I was a cocky kid or anything, but went into that first meeting with, you know, 30 hockey players or 32 kids, all the recruited kids, everybody was trying out for the team. And he walked in and said, "Okay, I know we're all here in the United States, but I just want to make sure you guys are well aware of something." He says, "Even though we live in a democracy," he says, "this team is not a democracy." He says, "This is a dictatorship, and I'm the dictator. And what I say goes. Anybody have any questions?" And everybody just went. He said, "Good. That's the way I like it."
He is a great coach, obviously. I mean, all his records speak for themselves. But you know, the thing that I always say to people is, you know what, he's a great coach, but he's a great person. Like, he can be hard on you and get what he needs out of you on the ice, and then, you know, after a game he'll hug you and, you know, be your friend.
He's probably the most intimidating 5'8" guy I've ever seen in my life. I mean, he would stand on the end of the bench and give you this over here, and you'd be like, "Oh no, here he goes." So, and you know, I was one of those. Like I said, I responded well to that stuff, but he was more than one time pulled me down into the tunnel at Walter Brown Arena and just grabbed me by the face mask. And you know, I'm about 6'8" on skates, and he's all at 5'8", and he'd be standing, you know, about chest high to me, screaming at me, and I'd be, you know, quivering in my boots.
You know, looking at Jack, he was really the iron-fisted ruler who followed Jack Kelly, and there was only one way. It was his or it was the highway, and without a doubt, he's changed over the years. But back then, it was pretty demanding.
Jackie always brags that he and I never had fisticuffs all the time. We coached against each other, but he knew that I could lick him anyway.
He's excited, I think, as anyone on the team to play a game. He still, before a game, gets nervous, and you know, you can see it sometimes in certain games, and it's pretty funny because, you know, everyone knows how much of a legendary coach he is, and you would think that he'd be calm and cool and collect, but you know, he's just ready to win.
The Battle of Comm Ave will return after these messages.
Now available on DVD. Relive the historical hockey rivalry between Boston College and Boston University. This DVD features the director's cut, which is 32 minutes longer than the broadcast, with exciting action and storytelling. Bonus features include never-before-told stories and video that hasn't been seen in decades. The Battle of Comm Ave, Boston University versus Boston College, is available at Pure Hockey, RivalFilms.com, and these fine retailers. It's the perfect holiday stocking stuffer.
How to have fewer hangovers. Method 1, don't drink. Hangover avoided. Method 2, take chaser while you drink and wake up feeling great. Breakfast in bed not included. Let's review. Method 1, don't drink. Method 2, take chaser while you drink. Wake up feeling great and cute as a button. Individual cuteness may vary. If you get hangovers, try chaser. Just take 2 pills with your first drink and 2 more later. The choice is yours. Don't drink or don't drink without chaser. Please drink responsibly.
Years ago, when my Aunt Joan suffered a stroke, it was devastating for all of us. And although it didn't take her life, it took something so much more important to her. It took her independence. I don't ever want another family to have to go through that. The thing is, with what we can do today, a stroke doesn't have to happen. 80% of strokes can be prevented when the risk is detected early and then treated by a doctor. That's why many doctors recommend lifeline screening. We use sonograms to look inside your arteries because that's where the plaque that causes most strokes builds up. You usually can't see it or feel it, and a routine physical won't usually check for it.
To schedule a lifeline screening near you, call 800-778-6097.
We screen the carotid arteries, the abdominal aorta, and the peripheral arteries. It's easy, completely painless, and every screening is reviewed by a board-certified physician.
Lifeline screening offers packages of tests for $139. Call 800-778-6097.
If a screening could prevent a stroke, why wouldn't you do it?
A few years before Parker took the helm at BU, Clarkson coach Len Siglarski was asked if he would like to return to his alma mater and coach the Eagles. A member of the 1949 national championship team, Siglarski would be replacing the legendary Snooks Kelly, who was retiring after a 4-decade run. With Siglarski moving to Chestnut Hill, his young assistant would take over the Clarkson program. That assistant was Jerry York.
It was interesting in my career. Lenny was the first boss they had, hockey boss. I was an assistant. I was right out of college, maybe 3 years out of college, and I was up in Potsdam, New York, where I didn't know a soul. My wife and I, Bobby, just got married, and so he kind of took us in as a family. We'd have dinners there, and I really kind of chance to sit back and observe. I didn't do a heck of a lot of coaching. At that time, it was the head coach, and the assistants picked up pucks, but I really observed and watched practices and learned an awful lot. I kind of cut my teeth on, watching the Clarkson program from a coaching perspective, watching how Lenny handled a lot of different issues.
He sometimes wondered where you stood with Coach Siglarski because he never would tell you. He'd kind of keep it to himself, and he'd let you know in other ways.
He was a very reserved, very, probably one of the most respected coaches at the time. If I'm not mistaken, we did, I think my 3rd or 4th year, he became the winningest college coach in the history of Division I. So obviously he had great success.
He left it a lot up to his assistant coaches, Joe Mallon and Steve Cedarchuk back when I was at BC. But Coach Siglarski would come in between periods and say, guys, we're not doing this right, we're not doing that right, our power play is not doing this, work on this. Not really the tactician, he was more of the talker. He left all that other stuff up to his assistant coaches, and he'd come in, and he was good on the bench. He made sure everyone knew who was going, when you were going, and he ran a tight bench, which was good.
Siglarski stayed at BC for 20 years. After a short stint by Steve Cedarchuk and an even shorter stay by Mike Milbury, the Boston College brass once again turned to a favorite son. Prior to the 1994-95 season, Jerry York returned to the Eagles' nest.
Unbelievably excited and proud to be chosen to be the next coach at Boston College. This is a memorable day for the York family.
Coach York is just the ultimate nice guy. He comes into your house, he comes into your room, says hello to everybody, makes everyone feel comfortable, and he carries that onto the bench, into the locker room. There's very few times where he gets really fired up and starts swearing and going after it, but when he does, you get the message. But he's just that nice guy. He comes in, makes you feel warm and welcome, and I think it's a good atmosphere to play under a guy like that. Someone who's not coming in yelling, screaming all the time, making you feel nervous on the ice.
But I'll never forget with one of our seniors, Jeff Farkas, who, I looked up to a lot. He was, one of the guys who took me under my wing when I was a freshman, and, I looked up to him a lot. But he had this habit of when he went to change during a face-off, you know, he'd kind of go slow towards the bench, lollygag a little bit, you know, wave his hand, call the next guy, what have you. And, you know, I think it kind of got under Jerry's skin a little bit. And then we had a drill that he named the Farkas drill. And it was like it was a 3-on-2, or I can't remember exactly the drill, but when he blew the whistle, you had to skate to the bench full speed and hop over the boards. And this isn't practice.
Looking back, you have a little more admiration for him because of how he'd handled so much adversity at times. And, you know, he's devastated as a player. I'm sure, you know, as a coach, he's devastated as well, but he wouldn't show it. And, you know, frustration levels and all that, but he always had a way to, you know, keep things positive and stay on an even keel, and that really did translate to the guys in the room. And
you know, it's hard to imagine the success that Coach York has had with the program. It's just been, you know, hottest team by far within the last 10 years. You know, you got to say that our record speaks for itself, I think.
No matter what was happening, he always had a grip on kind of the beat of the team and the pulse of the team as to how, you know, how we were feeling, and just the attitude that he brought forth every day, and the kind of culture that he created there at BC made it a very enjoyable experience to, you know, to go to the rink every day.
You know, he's one of those guys you just don't want to disappoint. He's great at just managing the team and keeping everyone on the same page, and he has high expectations, but you know, you realize, you know, once you get playing with him for a little while, that if you meet his expectations, generally the team does pretty well. So he never panics, and he's just kind of even-keeled, and I think the rest of that just filters down to the team, and you know, we don't panic come you know, the third period of a game or late in the year if we're not doing too well, because we know that he's got us going in the right direction.
He's energized by the rivalry, I'll tell you that. He gets, not that he gets over and emotional, because he's a believer of, you know, not too high, not too low. But there's a quick step when we're playing BU.
The Battle of Comm will return after these messages.
Excuse me, is this the returns line? Yeah.
Didn't get the 3G coverage you wanted this season? There's a map for that. To get 5 times more 3G coverage than AT&T, hurry into the Verizon Wireless Go Red Save Green event, where you can get 50% off select 3G phones like the Moto Rival, LG 8360, or the Samsung Omnia for just $24.99. Verizon Wireless.
Join Red Sox GM Theo Epstein and Peter Gammons for the 10th annual Hot Stove Cool Music Concert, January 9th at House of Blues Boston, featuring State Radio, Tinted Windows, The Low Anthem, Hot Stove All-Stars, Bill Janovitz, and Bronson Arroyo, the Dropkick Murphys Ken Casey, Kay Hanley, Mike O'Malley, and more. Proceeds benefit the foundation to be named later. Get your tickets today at Ticketmaster.com, 866-448-7849, or the House of Blues box office.
Any questions?
What kind of service plan does this come with?
Unlimited.
Can I keep my same phone number? Does it have a camera? What's the warranty? Can I put my party shuffle on this?
Any questions?
No.
For the 10 questions everyone should know, go to ahrq.gov.
VHIX.com has this great video series called Let's Find Out.
I don't know about horsepower.
What's a hybrid? How to get good mileage. And I got great information about torque.
Safety features.
What type of airbags. Go get the answers.
Watch Let's Find Out videos, new at VHIX.com. Find your ride.
Now available on DVD. Relive the historical hockey rivalry between Boston College and Boston University. This DVD features the director's cut, which is 32 minutes longer than the broadcast, with exciting action and storytelling. Bonus features include never-before-told stories and video that hasn't been seen in decades. The Battle of Comm, Boston University versus Boston College, is available at Pure Hockey, RivalFilms.com, and these fine retailers. It's the perfect holiday stocking stuffer.
Recalling the rivalry's top moments is like a game of telephone operator. The more the stories get told, the more embellished they become. Yet, despite more than 90 years and over 240 games, the same collection of defining moments surface time and again. For Boston University, one memorable moment came courtesy of Scott Shag Shaughnessy.
One that's particularly near and dear to my heart, and I think a lot of people around BU hockey in terms of what this rivalry means, is something that happened in the '86 Beanpot final. And that was another time in that period, circa specifically 1986, because the two teams played for the Beanpot Championship that year, and they played for the Hockey East Championship.
Both teams were very good. They were in first place, we were in second place at the time. We hadn't beaten them up to that point.
Well, BC, to this day, I can't imagine. Jack Parker would have never let this happen. All their seniors got together and made a video, and they called it the Beanpot Trot. And they made a video just like the Chicago Bears video, where they were all doing the dance and all this stuff.
It was a funny thing that we did, and hopefully all the copies are destroyed.
My name is Sweens, the one with the stash. I never get excited unless it's over cash. If you can't find me, I'll be in the slot, moving my feet, doing the Beanpot Trot. My name is Gordon. They call me...
Somehow they released it to the news media, and after they won their first round game, that's all that played that night on the news, that the BC won, and there's the Beanpot Trot. And they had all these great seniors, Bobby Sweeney, and they were loaded, Scott Gordon. I mean, they were loaded with talent, and they had a very good team, and somehow I guess they thought it was their destiny to win this thing because they did this video. And I saw that video, and it just made me so angry to watch it. I was just all week long, I was just chewing nails. I could not get wait to get a piece of them.
In the opening face-off, BC happened to win the face-off. Bob Sweeney got the puck along the wall in the neutral zone, and Scott Shaughnessy took about 17 strides and hit him so hard that he broke the glass, and it pretty much set the tone for the rest of the game.
It was a blatant charge, but just as he catches the pass, I arrive.
I can remember we came back to eat crow because, as I think Shag Shaughnessy said, they may have the trot, but we have the pot when they beat us in the Beanpot.
Terriers fans celebrate the Shaughnessy hit for what it was, smash mouth hockey. But in a rivalry as storied as this, the pain is felt both ways. In 2006, BU dominated the Eagles for most of the season. But the final meeting of the year was in the NCAA regional tournament.
You know, even when the programs are, you know, in a lull or up and down or one team's favored, you know, that's when you got to watch out. You got to be on your toes.
I think when we played at big stages, you know, when it's the white hot spotlight on you, and we've had those situations over the years. Particularly stands out for me is the one time we were in Worcester playing in a regional game against Boston University to go on to play in the Final Four. And we had lost like 3 of the 4 games to BU during the course of the year. And we just came up with an unbelievable effort.
It was an exciting game, and that was definitely beating them 5-0 to advance to the Frozen Four was probably by far the best memory.
Throughout the year, they'd beat us by 1 goal. It seemed like, you know, they'd get a goal here or there, and it would be a 1-goal game. And they beat us in overtime in the Beanpot, and they beat us in overtime in the Hockey East finals. And you know, before every game, we'd put up a scouting report of the other team, and just to kind of go over their tendencies and everything. But you know, I think they were on a huge winning streak, or had won, you know, 20 of the last 21 or something. And we went to talk about it before the game, and the coaches didn't even put anything on the board. They just said, "This is the 6th time we've played these guys. Like, we know exactly what they do. They know what you're going to do. Just don't worry about X's and O's and go out there and it's our will versus theirs." And I think that just kind of cleared everyone's mind, because, you know, you get a little anxious playing a team you haven't beaten in a long time, and just to go out there and play hockey and see who won, it was kind of different because we hadn't done that all season long. And I think it just got us going from the start, because we just, you know, we weren't going to lose them again.
We've also had some disappointing games against them where, you know, you felt like your heart was just taken right out of you because they played very, very well and they advanced in big stages.
I think it's become even more passionate, more intense for this specific reason, is that when one team is going well and really has their hold on bragging rights, the other team wants to try even harder to knock them off that pedestal. So it really becomes super intense.
Given the depth and success of both Boston College and Boston University's hockey programs, it's hard to believe these two Eastern powers have met only once in the NCAA National Championship game, a 5-3 Terriers victory. It happened in 1978, about an hour from Commonwealth Avenue by car in the Providence, Rhode Island Civic Center.
The 78 title game, I think, is one that is always, until there might be another title game. Perish the thought, I don't know if I'll survive it. Hopefully I won't be here for it, because I know I probably couldn't get through it. But the 78 title game, that's one that's obviously is looked back upon. Everybody that played in that game for Boston University that I come in contact with, it always comes up.
We played the defending national champion, Wisconsin, Mark Johnsons and Mike Eves. They were a great team in the semifinal, and we beat them, and we really played almost a perfect game. And then, lo and behold, we played BC in the finals.
This is one of the things that makes this rivalry really special, that the fact that you can have two teams that are just a couple of miles apart on the same trolley line that are capable of playing for Division I national championship. The fact that they've done it once, and maybe we'll see it again, maybe, but it has happened once, and thankfully it's in the win column for BU, and it was a fabulous BU team that won that national championship.
Probably one of the funniest things that stands out in me is when we were playing in the NCAA finals, and it was BU, BC, and Providence. Now, who's going to be the home team, and who's going to be, you know, what color jersey? I think Parker wanted to wear the red jerseys or something. I don't know. I think he might want to wear our white jerseys. I forget even. But I think he wanted to wear the white jersey, and I'm the captain of the team. So I'm in his office, and we're talking after a practice, and the phone rings, and it's Lenny Zaglarski. So they start talking, and I'm sitting there, and so Lenny and Parker's talking. Yeah, Lenny, yeah, Jack's saying, yeah. So yeah, well, what do you want? So you want to wear your home jersey? Okay, well, we kind of want to wear our home jersey too. And so they're talking about who's going to wear which jersey. So Parker says, all right, I'll tell you what. How about I flip a coin? I'll tell you what. He goes, and he's not moving. He's got nothing. He goes, I got a coin right here. He says, I'll flip a coin. You call it. He goes, okay, ready? Okay, ready? Okay, call it. He goes, okay, you call heads. He goes, oops, it's tails. We're wearing our home jersey. See you, Lenny. Click. And he looked at me and he was like, and I remember sitting there going, God, that's awesome. But, you know, he's like, hey, you know, and that's kind of the message. It's like, you know what? You don't worry about your opponent.
That was the high point of BU's rivalry. I mean, to be able to beat the Crosstown guys for a national title. And that was, I still think, the best team that BU ever had.
The Battle of Comm Ave will return after these messages.
Now available on DVD. Relive the historical hockey rivalry between Boston College and Boston University. This DVD features the director's cut, which is 32 minutes longer than the broadcast, with exciting action and storytelling. Bonus features include never-before-told stories and video that hasn't been seen in decades. The Battle of Comm Ave, Boston University versus Boston College, is available at Pure Hockey, RivalFilms.com, and these fine retailers. It's the perfect holiday stocking stuffer.
Attention, certain fentanyl pain patches have been recalled because of a defect that can cause a fatal overdose.
This is serious. If someone you know has died while wearing a skin patch for pain, the manufacturer may be to blame. Call the Goldwater Law Firm right now.
I'm attorney Bob Goldwater. If you or a loved one used this patch and were injured, call me right now. You may be entitled to a large cash award.
The FDA has issued a warning because the pain patch has been linked to fatalities. If you know someone who has died while wearing the pain patch, call the Goldwater Law Firm right now.
There are strict time deadlines. Don't wait. If someone you know has died while wearing a skin patch for pain, call the Goldwater Law Firm right now.
There are strict time deadlines. Don't wait. If someone you know has died while wearing a Duragesic skin patch for pain, call 800-824-3838. That's 800-824-3838.
Attention computer shoppers with past credit problems. If you've had past credit problems and want to make a change, call now. All you need is an active checking account and you're approved for our program. Bankruptcy, liens, divorce, or job loss, it doesn't matter. You're approved. We'll get you that new computer you always wanted and report on your credit so you can start to get it back on track. Call now and with your paid order, we'll add a free color printer, free MP3 music player, and a free LCD TV. You heard right. Free printer, free MP3 player, and a free LCD TV. Call now and tell us where you want your brand new computer and free gift shipped today.
That really stands out to me is the level of competitiveness that both teams always brought. And it wasn't just, ability competitiveness. I mean, we played to hurt each other, okay? And we just did.
When somebody comes out of the locker room for the BU-BC series and you hear somebody say, "Come on now, boys," and there's a deafening silence. I mean, there are 20 people, 22 people listening, and you can almost like all their heartbeats as one, and they're focused, and the eyes don't even shift, except straight ahead. And that they have their game face on, and it's become real important. And the only other time you see that, aside from a BC-BU game, is usually if it's in a Frozen Four game.
The first time I played against them, I was definitely squeezing my stick extra tight, and I was a little nervous. So, but it was every kid. You grow up around here. It was every kid's dream. If you want to play college hockey, you want to be involved in this rivalry.
Practices are kind of amped up a little. Guys are more intense. Worrying about their what they have to do, and guys kind of get more accountable for that weekend.
There's a lot of bad blood. I'm great friends with a lot of guys in the other team, but during those games, they want to take your head right off.
It's like two heavyweights just standing toe-to-toe, knocking each other on the jaw.
It always will be, as long as I'm living, an intense rivalry for me, and hoping, if we're going to go 2-28, let's hope the 2 wins are against BC.
There's really nothing like playing in a game, between the two schools. It's just so heated when you're out there, and once you play a weekend before, that BU game's coming up that next Friday. It's all you're thinking about, and even a couple weeks in advance, when it's coming. So I think the first weekend in December is always a time when it's circle on your schedule.
I feel like everything's just notched up one more rung on the ladder. The intensity's up, hits are harder, goals are more important, the crowd's a little bit louder. Everything's just a little bit more intense.
I used to love to go into Old McHugh Forum, and the fans were right on top of you, and they would call you names and literally throw things and spit at you, and I would think, God, this is great, because it made you play better.
I think it's at the height of the rivalry. There have been cycles where BC has been very good in the late 90s, early 2000s, where they've had the better teams and the better cycle. In the early 90s and the mid-90s, BU kind of dominated. Well, right now, both teams are national powers, and both teams could win national championship year in and year out.
I think part of the reason is that you can see now where you get players who maybe played 15, 20 years ago, and their sons are starting to enter the game and get to that age where they're being recruited.
When it is like it is now, where I think both teams are a threat for local, regional, and national honors, which I think is going to continue. When you raise the bar that high, it's something pretty special. I think it really raises the excitement level, not just for the coaches and the players, but for the fans, really for anybody that cares about college hockey.
We take it for granted here, and we should.
Ori for the Bruins, tied up by Ecclestone and Berenson. Westfall rolled it in front. Sanderson tried a shot that was wide, and Keenan cleared it, but not out. Bobby Orr behind the net to Sanderson. Oh!